Hello. I'd like to start this video by reading a few pages from the book Thus Spoke Zarathustra by Friedrich Nietzsche, philosopher from the 1800s. And this here is my own translation from German into English. I have come to a little bit over 1/3 of translating this book. I will resume my work later on. I had to pause for a while because it's very exhausting to translate this book, because I feel what he's feeling. So it is just very exhausting. But once I have translated it, and then it's fun for me to read it again. I picked this part here in the middle. It's still in the first chapter. The productive ones, the harvesting ones, the celebrating ones will I accompany. The rainbow do I want to show them, and all those stares of the superhuman. To the recluses I will sing my song, and to the two-person recluses, and who still has ears for unheard of things, I want to make his heart heavy with my joy. Towards my goal I want. I walk my path. Above the hesitant ones and those complacent with limitations, I want to jump. So be my path their demise. This has Zarathustra spoken to his heart when the sun stood at noon. There he looked inquisitively into the height, because he heard above him the sharp calling of a bird. And see, an eagle drew in wide circles through the air, and on him hung a snake, not like a prey, but like a girlfriend, because she kept herself curled around his neck. These are my animals, said Zarathustra, and felt joy in his heart. The proudest animal under the sun and the smartest animal under the sun, they have gone out for exploring. They want to find out whether Zarathustra was still alive. Indeed, do I still live? More dangerous did I find it under humans than under animals. Dangerous path does Zarathustra walk on. May my animals lead me. When Zarathustra had said this, he thought about the words of the holy man in the forest, sighed, and spoke thus to his heart. May I be smarter, may I be smart all the way through like my snake. But the impossible I wish for there, so therefore I wish from my pride that he always walks with my smartness. And when one day my smartness leaves me, she loves it to fly away, may yet my pride then fly with my foolishness. So began Zarathustra's demise. The speeches of Zarathustra, of the three metamorphoses. 3 metamorphoses do I call you of the mind, how the mind becomes a camel, and the camel becomes the lion, and the lion lastly becomes the child. Much heaviness is loaded onto the mind, the strong, load-bearing mind in which lives awe. For the heavy and heaviest longs his strength. What is heavy? So asked the load-bearing mind. So he kneels down like the camel and wants to be well loaded. What is the heaviest, you heroes? So asks the load-bearing mind, that I take it on and become happy about my strength. Is it not this, to humiliate oneself in order to hurt one's grandiosity? To let one's foolishness shine in order to ridicule one's wisdom? Or is it this, part from our cause when she celebrates her victory, climbing high mountains in order to challenge the challenger? Or is it this, nourish oneself from acorns and grass of the realization, and for the sake of truth suffer from hunger in the soul? Or is it this, being sick and sending the comforters home and making friends with deaf ones who will never hear what you want? Or is it this, stepping into muddy water when it is the water of the truth, and not reject cold frogs and hot tones? Or is it this, the dear ones who despise us and who shake hands with the ghost when it wants to make us fear? All this heaviest is the load-bearing mind willing to bear. Like the camel who loaded rushes into the desert, so he rushes into the desert. But in the loneliest desert happens the second transformation. The mind becomes the lion here. Freedom he wants to pray, and being master in his own desert. His last master he is searching for here for himself. Enemy he wants to become for him and his last god. For victory he wants to wrestle with the large dragon. Which is the large dragon, who the mind does not want to call master or god anymore? You must is the large dragon called. But the mind of the lion says, I want. You must is laid out for him on the road, golden, sparkling, a pangolin, and on each scale sparkles golden. You must. 1,000-year-old values sparkle on those scales, and so speaks the mightiest of all dragons. All value of anything, it sparkles on me. All value had already been created, and all created value, that am I. Indeed, there must not exist I want any more. Thus speaks the dragon. My brothers, what is the need for the lion in the mind? Why is the load-bearing animal not enough which is abstinent and fearful of authority, creating new values? This can't the lion do yet either, but creating freedom for oneself in order for new creating. This can the power of the lion do. Creating freedom for oneself and a holy no even towards the obligation. For this, my brothers, it requires the lion. Entitling oneself towards new values, this is the most horrible taking for a load-bearing and authority-fearing mind. Indeed, a plundering it is for him, and the business of a ravishing animal. As his holiest, he loved once the you must. Now he even must find madness and intention within the holiest yet, that he steals for himself freedom from his love. The lion is required for his theft. But tell me, my brothers, what can the child yet do, that also the lion was not able to do? Why must the ravishing lion yet even become a child? Innocence is the child in forgetting, a new beginning, a play, a wheel that rolls out of itself, a first movement, a holy yes saying. Yes, to the play of producing, my brothers. It requires a holy yes saying. His will wants now the mind. His world wins for himself the outsider. 3 metamorphoses of the mind I named for you. As the mind became the camel, and the camel became the lion, and the lion eventually became the child. So spoke Zarathustra, and at that time he dwelt in the town which is called the Colorful Cow. From the Teaching Positions of Virtue. One praised Zarathustra as being a wise man who knew well how to talk about sleep and about virtue. Much was he honored and rewarded for this, and all young people sat before his teaching seat. To the seat went Zarathustra, and with all young people he sat before his teaching seat. And so spoke the wise man. Honor and humility for the sleep. This is the first, and avoiding the path of all who sleep poorly and stay awake at night. Humble is yet the thief towards the sleep. He always quietly sneaks himself throughout the night. Humble is yet the thief towards the sleep. He always quietly sneaks himself throughout the night. But unhumble is the guard of the night. Unhumble he carries his horn. Not a modest art is sleeping. It yet is coercing to be awake towards it all day long. 10 times you have to overcome yourself during the day. This makes a good sleeping and is poppy seed for the soul. 10 times you have to reconcile again with yourself, because overcoming is bitterness, and badly sleeps the unreconciled. 10 truths you have to find during the day, otherwise you are still searching for truth at night, and your soul remained hungry. 10 times you have to laugh during the day and be humorous, otherwise your stomach bothers you at night. This father of sorrow. Few know this, but one has to have all virtues in order to sleep well. Will I speak wrong testimony? Will I conduct adultery? Will I let myself lust after my fellow's maiden? This all got along badly with good sleep. And even if one has all virtues, one has to understand one thing: sending the virtues themselves to sleep at the night time, that they don't quarrel with one another, the well-behaved wifeys, and over you, you unfortunate one. Peace with God and the neighbor, so wants it the good sleep, and peace yet with the neighbor's devil. Otherwise he talks around you at night. Honor the authority and the obedience, and also the crooked authority, so wants it the good sleep. How is it my fault that the governing power likes to walk on crooked legs? For me he shall always be called the best shepherd, who leads his sheep onto the greenest meadow. That's how it gets along with the good sleep. Much great honors I don't want, neither great treasures, that infects the spleen. But one sleeps poorly without a good name and a small treasure. A small society is more welcome to me than a villainous one, though she must go and come at the right time. That's how it gets along with good sleep. Much I also like the mentally poor. They facilitate the sleep. Blissful are those, peculiarly, when one always agrees with them. That is how the day unfolds for the virtuous one. Comes the night now, so I guard myself from calling the sleep. he does not want to be called the sleep, who is the Lord of the virtues. Rather, I think about what I had done and thought during the day. Ruminantly, I asked myself, patiently like a cow, which one were yet your 10 overcomings? And which ones were the 10 reconciliations and the 10 truths and the 10 laughters with which my heart agreed? Such things, pondering and weighing off by 40 thoughts, all of the sudden the sleep invades me, the uncalled for, the Lord of the virtues. The sleep knocks onto my eyes. There it becomes heavy. The sleep touches my mouth. There he stays open. Indeed, on soft shoe soles does he come to me, the favorite of the thieves, and steals me my thoughts. Silly do I stand there like this professor chair, but not for long any more do I stand then. There I lie down already. So this partition that I was reading from the Zarathustra is highlighting his intention, what he's planning to do, and what his character, Zarathustra, is planning to do. So he himself, the human who is speaking to the humans, and saying that the human shall be overcome. What have you done to overcome him? That is the question of the Zarathustra when he speaks on the marketplace of the next town. And the people were ridiculing him, and they said he's just a clown, an acrobat, a show person, nothing more than that. And he doesn't basically know what he's talking about, because they don't want to face the reality of what he is speaking about. They don't want to face the truth of it, of these parables that he's bringing up to them. So, but eventually Zarathustra finds a crowd of people and that are listening to him, but he is cautioning them. He says, be careful, don't become mesmerized. That's also something that Jiddu Krishnamurti kept on saying in Ojai. Don't become mesmerized. Why you fall asleep basically when you're mesmerized. You fall asleep during the day. We need to sleep at night. It's what Zarathustra is trying to teach. We need to, and not call for the sleep, but just allow the sleep to come by itself. It's a present to us. It's not something that we're entitled to even. So in order to sleep well at night, more important than being just a blind follower is, which also calms the mind, but more important is to be really awake during the day, and to really get the mind working, and to ask questions, and to have humor and laugh, and all of these things play into the effect of being really alert and consciously aware. Humor is love, laughing about oneself in particular, not laughing about other people. That's not what I call humor. That's bullying. Humor is when you are ready to laugh about your own mistakes, your own shortcomings, your own little dilemmas and so on. Your own unhappinesses and OCD and obstacles that we often set for ourselves. That kind of stuff, being fat, for example, and still wanting to be wanted, and those kind of things. We need to take this more lightly. We need to take the heaviness of the body, a whole chunk more lightly. Now, call yourself an inflatable boat. That's a good start. I bet most women are not capable of doing that. But try it, give it a try, or if you're a guy too, For men, for some reason, get away with being fat, not women in this society today. Back then, and even during Friedrich Nietzsche's time, it was a little easier. Women, my chubbiness were like the norm, and was like that was actually looked up to. It was like she could afford to eat that much. She must be of noble origin. And the peasants and the farmers, they were skinny and they were also sunburned. So the pasty fat ones were actually the ones of honor and noblesse. And today it has taken a complete reversal of that. But I see that the paleness has made its way back, at least in some circles. So in some of the aristocratic circles, at least. So yeah, it was nowadays it's seen more like it's also a protection of the skin from the sun. Those who can protect their skin from the sun, they're better off. Those ones who are constantly under the sun and being sunburned, they get the C word and all kinds of problems, and that's not good. Or those tanning salons. No, to me that's like that is really something that is the most unnecessary and the most ridiculous invention that exists on earth. This is a tanning salon. I did it one time because a friend pulled me into it when I was like 17 or 16, and I didn't understand the meaning of that tanning salon. It was like, okay, here maybe for relaxation, but why put my skin through this, right? My poor skin. So no, I was glad to be out of there again. I prefer sauna. There's a beautiful bird with a red head, and he's sitting right on top of the birdhouse, but unfortunately it doesn't show here on my computer when I turn the computer towards the window, because the reflection is too bright, and then it overshadows the birdhouse in the corner. But it's very nice to have birdhouses, so I recommend that to everybody. Put a birdhouse on your balcony and sit down with your cup of tea and just contemplate and observe the behavior of the birds. It's very interesting, They speak volumes about Earth and life, and they show themselves in all kinds of characteristics, just like humans. It's like observing people sitting at Starbucks coffee shop. So the same type of buzzing and same type of competition and elbowing. Who gets to the coffee first? Who gets to the sunflower seeds first? Some little ones bully a big one even. That was really amazing for me to see. Two little birds flew frontally towards the chest of the big bluebird, and the big bluebird didn't even move away. He was like, what's going on here? Why are they doing this? Who do they think they are? So yeah, it's very interesting. It's very nice. It's wonderful. It's just, this is true meditation, as Paul said. So it's a wonderful thing to look at and dissolve your cravings and your aversions, and this clinging, the clinging type of thinking, and let the thoughts calm and relax. So, and I believe there is no such thing as no thinking, because if we didn't think at all, we we would be brain dead. So if there would be flatliner, and that's never the case. It's just when we calm our mind down, it appears as if we are not thinking. We can get to the point where we are not thinking in craving and aversion anymore. The grinding type of thinking, the suffering thinking will stop. And that's what the goal of meditation really is, to get to that point where we can be totally in the flow, where there is no more clenching or thinking we need to get it over with, we need to get done with something. Or I remember I was sitting for a woman at the center a long time ago. We were doing body sessions with each other, and she was telling me about her life, where every situation was about her thinking, let's get this over with, let's get this done with, so that she can move on to the next and be relieved of the first situation. And I thought about this for a long time, for many years, and I thought, yeah, I've been through that myself. And I realized that this entire thing about giving presentation at the university, this terrible, terrible fear, the fear of the fear, the panic of the giving presentation. That's why I'm also making videos, in order to practice this for myself. It's not live, so I can edit it and all of this, but it's one step in the right direction at least. So what if later on I have to give a presentation for some cause, and then I won't be able to do it? I will not be there for the other living being if I will not be able to give a presentation. And so I'm practicing it now so that I can be a better activist later on. So, but this feeling like, oh, they're looking, or they're judging me, or they're just waiting for me to make a mistake. They're just waiting for me to stutter or shake or shiver or say something completely unfocused, or burp or fart or whatever. Do something that makes me feel humiliated again and again and again. It wasn't intended necessarily. It just happened because the people that surrounded me were not grounded. They were not well themselves. Okay, so they were extremely neurotic. One person worse than the other. And so in the course of that, they humiliated me when I was a child, an HSP, a highly sensitive person child, and it was extremely damaging. It can ruin someone's life for the rest of their lives. If I didn't have such a strong will as I have, I would already be dead. I would have already given myself a golden shot, as several people did who I have known. People who didn't have that willpower as I have. And highly sensitive people, really. Particularly Despina. I'm really extremely sad about that, when I heard that she had died from a heroin overdose. And we were around 20 or 21 at that time. Yeah, she was my age. And here, the difference between her and me, the only difference was, it was hanging by a thread. The only difference was that I had this gigantic willpower to climb through every grinding stage of development in this lifetime. Every stage of development was like a ladder made out of burning coals. That's how it felt. And it was like that for her too, but what was thrown at her, she wasn't able to cope with. It was just way too much. And I know some other people as well who died. from overdoses because they just couldn't cope with that enormous heaviness and chest crushing weight and exhaustion and terror that was thrown at them. That energy of humiliation in particular. And I always knew that this is a dead-end street, and nobody needed to tell me that. Most people don't even tell me. My lung doctor had always warned me. I always felt embarrassed with my cigarette in my hand, and my lung doctor was always saying, oh, he was really worried about me when I was 17, 18, and 19, 20, and he always saw me out there with the cigarette. And he had his practice in the same house where we had the two upper levels, and so he was renting that place for my dad, and we've always gone to him because it was convenient. He was in the same house, and so when I met him down on the street on the sidewalk, he kind of like he saw me growing up, and he was worried about me like a dad, and like a really good grandfather, a grandfather I never had. And so he always said, without pushing me, he said, you, what you're doing to yourself is you're hurting yourself. He said it in a very sweet and caring way, and it did help me. It did stay in the back of my head, and it did resonate, and my body said, he is right, listen to him, But I was a punk, and I was no future, and I was anti-establishment, and I was like, oh, whatever, people are ruining everything, and what can we do? And so I was in that terrible phase, but then eventually I never forgot his words, his repetitive caring and talking to me about this, and that my body depended on clean air to breathe. And so later on I realized so what I was doing to myself was I was in a dead-end street. It was literally a dead-end street, and I saw people dying, and from the harder drugs, of course, but I also learned more and more about lung diseases and all these kind of things, alcoholism and what it does to the brain and so on. Even Friedrich Nietzsche said when anytime he was drinking with friends, he became a fisherman in his head. So it doesn't bring up the nobility, as I already said in the other video. It does quite the opposite. The spirits of the alcohol actually creates a despiritization process in the brain. And if we want to become clear in our heads, we have to be sober. We have to be free of any kind of toxin, any kind of nerve toxin, any kind of toxicity there is, whether it's pollution, hallucinogenic mushrooms, or medication from the pharma industry. I'm not putting all these things in the same pot, but what I am emphasizing is that we need to stay away from any kind of substance that is not good for us. The mushroom in its whole form may have some medicinal value for some people who may really have reached an end stage of their lives, but it is not for a teenage girl or boy who have a whole lifetime in front of them, who want to be clear, who want to think clearly, who in order to make clear decisions, and that's also what Friedrich Nietzsche is talking about when he talks about we have to be really fully alive during the day in order for the sleep to naturally engulf us and give our brain the recharging rest that we need, so that we can live a life of true fulfillment and true awareness and a true becoming, so that we can be the creators and molders and shapers of our own existence, each person for their own body and life and surrounding. You are the creator of your reality. That is the truth of it. And so I think this is absolutely beautiful, and we need to just become aware and stay away from toxins and stay away from religion. Stay away from gurus. Or anyone who is acting like a guru, forget it. Throw that out right away. It doesn't matter what the guru sits there with a naked upper chest, which is already horrific by itself for a 60-plus-year-old man. But it could be also someone in a brown robe. All of this is bullshit. This is not what the Buddha was talking about. He didn't say for us to be dressed in robes or like the Ku Klux Klan or whatever the name is, or in bathrobes or in whatever, whatever religion requires people to dress up like Star Trek, or just be yourselves, man. Be yourself. Don't shave your head. Show your natural hair, and if you're bald, then put a wig on. It's just, but be yourself. Don't follow some cult. Wake up. Wake up. And be you. Be alive. Be in the flow of things. Recognize the flow. There is no such thing as abrupt borders in nature. There is no such thing as people creating this, or they're creating resistance when they do it. Any border, any sharp thing, anything that is like even the mouth guard that I bought the wrong one mouth guard was wrong. The one from Shock Doctor, that was, the name alone should have told me not to buy it. Because it's like when the upper rubber dissolved, then the harder plastic underneath was coming through and creating a sharp border, and it was pinching into my lip. And it's just so representative for life itself. It's like people, they want to create this great product, and it has to be so sharp cut, clear cut, clear measured and all of this. And then when it's put into practicality, it doesn't work, Or in the farm industry, to put the animals in this cut off place. It doesn't work. It's not natural. It creates resistance. Then resistance, your own resistance, creates problems for other beings. It creates fear and so on. Let's make life more organic, Everything has to thought about in terms of organic flow. The other mouth guard works because the two materials that are fused together are both the same materials, the same rubber type of material. Real durable, it's fused together, there's no sharp boundaries, the edges, the outlinings are rounded. It is organic in shape and therefore adaptive for a biological organism to use as a mouth protection. Just to name one example out of so many, or just a pen, the way a ball pen is shaped, the way you hold it in your hand. You don't want it to have some cut edges, cut off edges, or some metal edge just because it looks more cutting edge, literally, So yeah, it will cut into your skin. It has to be made out of a soft rubber material, and it has to be organically shaped so that it fits right in the hand. All these are examples. The recliner chair I'm sitting in, if it had something sticking out on the side, something that the designers thought was this has to be calculated like this, because then it has its functionality, and then they forget that you might have your leg on it. Or the way a car is shaped, the inside of a car, it has to be shaped that it is adaptive for a living organism to be sitting in it, and be feeling good and feeling like you are protected and you're not hitting any of your knee bone anywhere. So yeah, all of this needs to be thought about. We need to. That's why it's important that we think nature, we think biology, organisms, life, nerve cells, and so on. All of this eventually ties in with one another. So anyway, I don't want to make the video too long. Take care. Peace out. Bliss out. See you later.